So I have to congratulate you first out. I'm not remembering another time when a president of the United States sort of endorsed a new car and gave such a pithy endorsement for it, said the sucker's quick. So what can you tell us about this truck besides the fact that it's quick?
Well, thank you, David. Well, first of all, this is an iconic moment for our industry as America's most popular vehicle for decades goes electric. The starting price is $39,000. We have over 20,000 orders in 12 hours since we revealed right here in Dearborn the truck. It can power your house for 3 days. 0 to 60 in 4 seconds, fastest F-Series we've ever made. That's got a mega power frunk, so the whole front where the engine was is lockable, and you can put 400 liters of stuff in it. It's an incredible new vehicle that I think America's already falling in love with. And yes, the president loved this truck.
Yeah, it clearly did. He got to drive it. I was surprised they let him drive it. The Secret Service actually were a little lax there, I think. So Jim, we know the Ford F-150 has been, I think, the #1 vehicle in North America for something like, what, 40 years, more or less?
44 years.
44
years.
And largely, it's really a truck for the trade. It's used by a lot of construction workers, people on the job site. So will this cause people to give up the old F-150 and move over to the new electric? Are you seeing a more rapid turnover in your fleet?
Well, first of all, we have a special lightning just for the trades. We are the leader, almost 50% market share in commercial light-duty vehicles, so Ford is by far the leader. We also have an e-Transit. Transit van is the #1 van in the U.S., and we have an electric version of that coming out late this year. So the only brand who has both commercial versions. The F-150, with going electric, you reduce about 40% of the moving parts and powertrain. So the cost of ownership and uptime is much, much lower for an ICE if you have the duty cycle of driving as a commercial customer. Commercial is really different than retail. They don't overbuy in batteries. They know exactly how many miles they're going to drive. So this vehicle is a real game changer for commercial customers where we are dominant. For retail customers, it's really fun to drive. It's got the upscale content, the 15.5-inch screen, the over-the-air updates. So it's going to be kind of a new vehicle. We have a hybrid and turbocharged and a diesel version of F-150. So when you sell 1 million, we have a lot of different choice. We're going to let the customers decide which one they want.
Well, but you must have some anticipation of what the customers are going to want. And let me ask you a very pointed question. When do you expect you'll stop making the internal combustion engine version of the Ford F-150?
We'll do that when customers choose to do that. We have the option. We have a lot of flexibility. That's why we got the price down to $39,000 to make it affordable. We want to lead this electric revolution, but we have a lot of customers who drive 600 miles a day. Electric just not going to work for them. But we definitely see the fleet going more and more electric. We have the Mustang Mach-E that's already sold out for several months now, and we have the e-Transit, as I mentioned. So we're going to give the customers choice. We do have a production plan. The president was here to see our Dearborn facility where we're going to make this vehicle. My grandfather worked there in 1928, so it's a great facility, and we'll just let the customers decide. We just announced a battery plan for this vehicle down in Georgia, and so we're getting ready for the launch.
By the way, that's when my grandfather was working for Buick Motor up in Flint, Michigan, so just up the road a piece. But give us a sense here about what this will mean for labor, because President Biden has said he really wants to embrace electric vehicles, as he did when he came out to Detroit, in part because of the good-paying jobs. At the same time, Ford, as I understand, is estimating you need 30% less labor to make an electric vehicle than an internal combustion engine vehicle.
Well, you're spot on. It does take less labor, about 30%, we think, because the vehicle is just a lot simpler. But on the other hand, we're vertically integrating to offset that labor tail. So we're going into this battery production in large scale. Those are new jobs, very different kind of jobs. We're also building electric motors and inverters inside the company. We weren't doing that before. So we're taking our transmission plants and converting them over electric components. And when you look at all of those pieces, there's not really a big labor transition here, but they are very different jobs. And the other thing is the labor happens in different places. So we have to transform the labor in terms of geography footprint. That's a big job to do. It's going to take a long, decades for this to make this transition, but we're already thinking ahead.
Jim, in success, you're talking about an awful lot of batteries. As I understand it, Ford is making another announcement today about a joint venture. What can you tell us about that?
Yeah, so this is a big deal. It's Blue Oval SKI. We're going to accompany SKI. We're going to go in the battery production business. Something we used to buy off the shelf, we're now vertically integrating these batteries. They're too important for this volume. We want to secure the production, and they're a really big part of the bill of material of this F-150 electric. That's why we got the price down. So we need to integrate these batteries. These are very specialized plants. This is going to be in Georgia. It's a big announcement for us to go into battery production, and it won't be the last place that we vertically integrate.
Well, let's talk about that exactly, because one of the things that's very much in the news is the shortage of chips. In fact, I read at least that you have 22,000 of the old, if I can call them that, F-150s sitting on a lot in Kentucky because they don't have the necessary chips. Where are you in the chip production facility? As we have a summit going on in Washington right now, can Washington help you?
It's a big deal right now. And so we think second quarter is really the trough for our chip supply shock. We think the second half is going to improve. We've cut our production almost 50%. The chip issue is complicated, but we really see the Renesas facility that really impacted us in Japan. They're back up and running. They had a fire burn the whole plant down on March 19th. They're back and running, and we're confident that in the second half we'll get most of the chips we need. The demand is so high for new vehicles right now that I'm not sure we'll get all of what we need. We've rescheduled all of our summer vacations for our hourly workers into this quarter. So the third quarter and fourth quarter, we're going to be flat out on production. It'll really come down to how many chips. The chips we use in these vehicles is very complicated. We have hundreds and hundreds of them, and we tend to use the 22 nanometer and bigger chips because our requirements are different than your phone. Our trucks have to work at 40 below in the North Slope of Alaska, so we tend to use those older feature set chips, and that's not the capacity that's going in. You hear all these big announcements on chip capacity. Those tend to be the smaller, more advanced nodes, and we use a lot of those, but not all of those. So it's going to be a big transition to get more capacity for us in these the chips that we mostly use.
Jim, I'd be remiss though I didn't ask you about the competitive front here when it comes to chips. Ford sort of took a hit in saying you had a lot of problems with chips. GM appeared to come across as being in better position. Is that fair? I think the street right now thinks that in fact GM's managing the chips better than Ford.
I can't influence other companies, but here's this management team's commitment. We are going to tell Wall Street everything we know. Okay, that's our plan, is to be completely transparent. How it falls out in the market, I think it's going to take time. So let's see how the end numbers, work out. But our management team, we want to share everything we know. And that's what we knew, and we shared it as transparently as we can. Look, we were able to offset almost all of the chip impact, 200,000 units in the first quarter. So let's see what this team can do in the rest of the year.